Ukraine has a problem that is to be found in many countries around the world, and that is a limited access order. You have a large number of people within the power elites who are paying, in some cases, to protect their interests, or who are ensuring that there are people in Parliament who protect their interests. And this is a vicious circle because it means that government works very inefficiently. It's hard to attract investment into the country because there is no rule of law. And the citizens become very frustrated because it's difficult sometimes to ensure basic administrative services, to get your driving license or your passport or something like that. And society gets used to paying for some of these services, and the system doesn't work, therefore, for the benefit of citizens. Ukraine has made great progress in the last 3 years in cleaning up the gas sector and making sure the state gas company, Naftogaz, is solvent, to stop money being stolen by people who traded in gas. And we've seen also considerable progress in other areas, cleaning up the tax system, where there are all sorts of tax frauds, a clean-up of the banking sector, where money was effectively being stolen from the country, and also the clean-up of the procurement system. Ukraine now has an online procurement system called Prozoro that has won all sorts of international plaudits. And the sum total, by one reliable estimate, of the money saved to the Ukrainian budget from these measures is around 6% of GDP. That's $6 billion. Roughly $3 billion from the cleanup of the gas sector, and another $3 billion from putting an end to these fraudulent tax schemes. Since 2014, Ukraine has established some dedicated anti-corruption bodies. In one case, the National Agency for the Prevention of Corruption. We've also seen the establishment of a National Anti-Corruption Bureau, known as the NABU, and to accompany that, the setting up of a specialized anti-corruption prosecutor's office. And there's no doubt that transparency levels have increased very greatly in Ukraine. It has now some of the most intrusive verification requirements for civil servants and members of parliament, I think vastly more intrusive than in many Western countries. The problem is, however, that this National Agency for the Prevention of Corruption has not been in a position to process any of the information that has been gathered. It does seem that, in fact, the effort may have been sabotaged from the outset. By contrast, the National Anti-Corruption Bureau is widely regarded as a clean institution, and therefore it is a relatively trusted institution. The Achilles heel of the anti-corruption effort in Ukraine is the judiciary. Judicial reform has started, albeit slowly. It has proved very difficult to ensure the entry of new blood into the judicial system. Although at least 2,000 judges have left their positions, the core of the old judiciary remains, and its culture is not one of an independent body. It's used to being politically dependent. On the plus side, a new Supreme Court has been appointed. It rather seems as though the lack of a functioning judiciary will continue to dog the anti-corruption effort. There are two important things that have to take place over time. One is demonopolization of the economy, because we still have a large proportion of the country's wealth concentrated in the hands of a small number of people who exercise, as a result, disproportionate influence in the country. And part of that influence is maintained through a political system which allows people to be elected to parliament who don't serve the interests of citizens, do not represent citizens as such, but represent those vested interests, and who in some cases even pay for their seats. And then, as a result of paying for the campaign to get elected, paying for their seats, then seek repayment through this position of influence they have in Parliament. And so far we've not seen any movement on electoral reform, even though it was part of the coalition agreement from 2014. We have elections next year. It's unlikely that anything substantial is going to happen in the meantime. But this is an area in which I believe civil society in Ukraine will start to push much more strongly. And assuming it does, I think we can expect to see this limited access order start to open more to have more competition within the system, both in the economy and in politics, which will create, over time, a virtuous circle. If Ukraine can achieve this outcome where it opens the political and economic space to greater competition, more people being involved, it is going to be able to make a real breakthrough in addressing the problem of institutionalized corruption.